Hey everybody, welcome to day 21 of the 28-day Get Hired Challenge. Today we're digging into building your professional network. All right, everybody, it is day 21 of the 28-day Get Hired Challenge. You've made it 3 weeks in this journey of trying to get you hired in cybersecurity. I'm Alyssa Miller, and today we are digging into building your professional network. So, what is a professional network? Why do I care about a professional network? These might be questions you're asking yourself. I think sometimes take it for granted that people understand what a professional network really even is and why they would want to have one. So let's start there. Professional network is something that can be insanely valuable to you as you go through your journey trying to first start your career, but then also progress your career in cybersecurity. You see, your professional network are those people, those colleagues who are in the industry with you, who you develop some rapport with. Now, how that's going to look is going to be different based on a number of factors: how you meet, what you guys have in common, what you talk about. But the great thing with professional networks is when you're looking for a job in particular, it can be super valuable because a lot of times people talk. They hear that somebody's got an open position and, oh, hey, I met so-and-so. They're looking to get a job in that space. Or, they put out a call to their network and someone might recommend it to you and say, hey, a friend of mine has this position open. They can also be invaluable resources for you to bounce ideas off of in a little less formal of a setting. But your professional network is something that will benefit you from the day you start trying to launch your career all the way through to the day you retire and probably beyond. So, with that in mind, how do we go about building a professional network? So if you remember back to day 16, which was only 5 days ago, so hopefully you remember back that far. I mean, I have trouble with that too. Don't worry if you don't remember that far back. But back in day 16, we talked about that non-traditional skills building, and I talked about some areas with conferences and local meetups that would be great ways for you to learn. Well, it's also great opportunities, and we kind of talked about it then. Those are great opportunities for you to meet people who will become part of your professional network. You attend the same meetup multiple times, you're going to see the same people in some cases, and slowly you'll build that rapport. You'll start to hear about maybe one of them has an open position, or maybe they help you discover a position with one of their colleagues or something. These are all things that can happen. So when we were talking about back in the previous video about this, the DEF CON groups, using Meetup to find different cybersecurity groups. If you're a woman, maybe find a women in security group. Or if you're a person of color, you may find like Black Girls Hack or something like that. We might be doing different meetups. But look for those that are in your area. OWASP chapters are another great one, the Open Web Application Security Project. They have chapters all over the world as well. So see what you can find. Some of the more professional organizations like ISSA or ISACA, these are all groups that have meetups, and usually you don't have to be a member, you can attend for free. I think maybe after a while they might start to pressure you to join, but great ways. But there are other ways. Simpler way is simply get active on social media. Now, if you're not active on social media now, I know a lot of people are like, Alyssa, it is an absolute dumpster fire. I don't want to touch social media. I get it. Trust me, I'm in that dumpster fire every day. I get it. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably found out about this video series from social media. Social media is great, but let's talk about a few different options. My favorite is Mastodon. Okay, so I'm on infosec.exchange, but there are other instances of Mastodon, and if you know how Mastodon works with the Fediverse, you can interact with people across multiple instances and you can see their feeds and everything else. What I like about Mastodon is that there's a big information security contingent there. A lot of people that came over from Twitter when that kind of went the way that it's gone. But it gives the same value that I felt Twitter had too, and that is you can literally interact with anyone. And this is what I think is really important about social media when it comes to building a professional network, is being able to have more casual conversations with anyone, whether they have, 1 million followers or they have 10 followers. If you see a post from them, you can reply to them. And in order to build your professional network out there, that's what you're going to need to do. Now, there's also LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn's another really popular professional network. The challenge with LinkedIn, let's talk about the positive first. The positive with LinkedIn is that it is very much about professional networking, where Mastodon, Twitter, those things, they get a little more. A lot of times it's very casual conversations, a lot of times not even about info security, right? Not even about cybersecurity at all. And you can go into all sorts of crazy political discussions there and everything else, which is great because we are whole humans and it's good to recognize all parts of our personalities. But if you're looking specifically for, professional networking, LinkedIn is kind of the site that's designed for that. Now, a couple challenges though with LinkedIn. First and foremost, it's been my experience that most of the people out there, as they're posting, aren't really interested in a lot of interaction. LinkedIn is very algorithm heavy. There's all sorts of strategies for how you can inflate your visibility and game the algorithm. But at the end of the day, you look at a lot of what goes on LinkedIn and it's a lot of self-promotional stuff. Not really stuff that's easily engaged with the way that like a Mastodon would be, where it's much easier to engage in casual conversation and start to build a rapport with somebody. So there's some give and take there. I'll admit, Facebook, I don't have a lot of success with. Instagram, there's some. TikTok was big for a while in security after YouTube started, kind of shutting things down as far as hacking videos and so forth. But it's all shifting and it's all moving. But I think the big ones right now are Twitter, Mastodon, and LinkedIn. So consider that. But here's the thing. No matter how you go about building your professional network, one thing that is critical is to be intentional about building that network. And I say that, but I also want you to take that with a grain of salt. When I say be intentional, you should have goals to get yourself out there and meet people, okay? Whether you do it through social media, whether you do it in person, you go to some local meetup, you go to a conference or multiple conferences, however you do it, you have to constantly be setting goals and challenging yourself to do it. Because it is really easy to just stand back and sort of, believe it or not, I'm socially awkward. I am terrible in social situations where I have to cold introduce myself to somebody. But what I did was I started to force myself to do this. And part of it was through conference speaking. And I discovered that if I spoke at conferences, I had a much easier time talking to people. But however it works for you, you do have to be intentional about getting yourself out there. Now, the reason I say take it with a grain of salt, however, is your interactions with people still need to be genuine. If your sole purpose for trying to interact with people is self-serving, rather than building an actual social relationship, I can tell you that doesn't go well. And I've watched people try to do that where, either they set goals that they want to have lots of followers on, some platform, or, they wanted to meet very, very specific people. And, it comes down to the same thing I was talking about with why I like Twitter previously and now Mastodon, is that having some of that casual conversation and actually getting to know people and having meaningful conversations about cybersecurity topics, yes, but get to know a person before you go to them and say, hey, can you help me find a job, right? That's where you're going to find the most meaningful relationships that are going to help you the most, when you can actually establish that rapport with somebody. So look for ways to increase your involvement. How can you be a bigger part of something? So if there's a meetup, can you help organize it? Can you maybe be on, eventually, be on the board for some of these different chapters or something, take on a leadership position. Can you, if it's in your skill set, can you go and speak at some of these? That type of involvement is going to organically start to create interactions with people that create genuine relationships, and then start to build out that network. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to be key. So yes, you're ultimately trying to build that network because you're trying to get your career going. But remember, these could potentially be friendships you could keep for many years. And so you do want to cultivate these as social relationships. You're not just there to use somebody for their network, but instead you're learning and growing, and you're helping them learn and grow as well. So that's what I've got for you today. But I want to hear from you in the comments so I can give away another book. Tell me one thing that you've found useful so far in terms of networking, either how you go about meeting people or how you've been able to leverage your network already. Tell me about it, or maybe a story you've heard. Let me know down in the comments and I'll give away a book. Also, reminder once again, 35% off through the end of the month at Manning.com. Just use that discount code, follow that link, or use the QR code. It'll take you there. You'll save 35% off of all of Manning's titles on their website. And keep coming back. We've got one more week to go here. Plenty more information coming for you. We are not done yet. I'm going to be here fighting for you. I am trying to help get you hired in cybersecurity. So I'll see you again tomorrow.